want to bring you up to date. If you're just joining us, breaking news: 10 U.S. Navy sailors have been detained by Iran after a vessel they were in drifted into Iranian territory waters. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters joins me now. You know, when I saw this breaking news, Colonel, the first thing I thought, it's the State of the Union. Do you think that Iran is trying to provoke the president ahead of his speech tonight to the nation?
I think they were very, very glad to have the opportunity to humiliate the president once again just before the State of the Union address. Now, there are so many holes in this story yet, we don't really know what happened. But we do know a couple things. One, this was not some local Iranian commander going wild. In the Iranian system, this seizure had to be authorized from the top. Two, it's a hostile action because, you know, under the law of the seas in peacetime, if a vessel or a boat is disabled, any vessel that comes upon it is obliged to help, not take prisoners. The third thing is if the Pentagon is just saying we lost contact with our boats. Well, if they weren't able to issue a distress call, that means the Iranians were jamming our communications. That's a hostile act. And not least, once they were taken captive, they were obviously not allowed to communicate their status. All of these are hostile acts. And I think that coming upon the recent Iranian firing of rockets near our carrier, the USS Harry Truman, with no U.S. reaction, that the Iranians continue to push the envelope. And again, was the timing coincidental? Maybe. But the Iranians are relishing it.
They're testing us. There's some other breaking news I want to bring to your attention tonight, Colonel Peters. The House has just passed a bill to impose sanctions on North Korea after last week's weapons test. Again, whether they were provoking Japan or trying to provoke the United States, we don't know. But what do you make of this move by the House in Washington tonight to impose these sanctions?
Well, it's a nice gesture, but that's all it is. Any sanctions we oppose are not going to make a difference. Unless China, which is the only country that has real influence in North Korea, and even that's limited, unless China gets serious about reining in North Korea, we will not see a substantial change, and we will, on the contrary, see ever more dangerous, increasingly dangerous provocations. But right now, although the president is going to take a bow and pat himself on the back again on international security issues tonight in his fantasy world, nonetheless, we are living in a world that grows more dangerous by the day because everybody knows they can back down this president.
Okay, you brought it up. Okay, so fine. So the president did lay out the groundwork for his foreign policy plan at last year's State of the Union address. Listen to this. I want to get your reaction.
Tonight, we turn the page. Tonight, for the first time since 9/11, our combat mission in Afghanistan is over. In Iraq and Syria, American leadership, including our military power, is stopping ISIL's advance. Instead of getting dragged into another ground war in the Middle East, we are leading a broad coalition, including Arab nations, to degrade and ultimately destroy this terrorist group.
We're leading against the fight with ISIS. Are we there now? It's a year later.
1 year later, Cheryl, Afghanistan is much worse off. Iraq is deeply troubled and owned by Iran. Syria is in horrific shape. Libya is in worse shape. The entire Middle East is going up in flames. As you heard Mike Morrell, the former acting CIA director, say today, Islamic State has expanded more rapidly than Al-Qaeda ever did. It's now in almost 20 countries. Even Europe is undergoing tumult because of the Middle Eastern situation. We just talked about North Korea. China's feeling its oats in the South China Sea. This president's recalcitrance, his unwillingness to do anything that is meaningful and forceful, has put our country in grave danger, our allies in grave danger, not only today, but this danger from Islamic extremists and others is going to, it's going to punish us for decades.
Ask Angela Merkel how she feels about extremists today. She might have a very, very different story, Colonel Peters.
Indeed.
Colonel Ralph Peters, thank you very much, sir, for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Cheryl.